Great. All right, then, Esther, I can throw it over to you. So again, Esther Chung is one of the academic learning strategists within the Academic Advising Career Center, and she's going to be talking about studying for exams, specifically online learning and online exams.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
So I'm gonna start sharing my screen and let me know.
Great, I'll cancel my screen share then.
Yes. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Good to go.
Sorry, give me 1 sec. Let me try this other one. Sorry, I'm gonna try this again because I'm trying to keep the chat window open. I wonder, I'm still getting used to Zoom. So please excuse me.
Me too. I reconfigured how I set up my desk, and for some reason that also means I forgot how my computer works. So I feel like I don't see everything in the same way.
Okay, so let's try this. Okay, can you guys see it?
Yeah.
The slides? Okay. Sorry, 1 second. I still want the chat window open, but I can't.
I don't know about you, Esther. Actually, if you go to the top where it says view options and go to chat, and then you can make it big, and I just kind of like move it around, or I find that I can move it around after that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I can't see the chat for some reason. I'm having technical difficulty, probably user error more so than anything. So if there's any comments, any kind of questions, please let me know. I did click on the chat, but I don't know where it's going. It's probably somewhere. I have 2 screens, so I'm trying to like go back and forth. But oh, here it is. I found it. Woohoo! Okay. So hi, everybody. My name is Esther. I'm from Academic Advising and Career Center. And I think it's really great that we went virtually this year for our exam jam to support all students. Because I know it's a pretty stressful time, like in general, because of COVID, everybody's studying at home, and you know, it could be challenging at times with online learning and taking online tests. So I prepared some tips and strategies. If you have any questions, you could post them in the chat. So I'm going to start going through some of the strategies. So these are the top 5 strategies I'm going to be sharing. So design your environment for success, overcome procrastination, because I think that's something that everyone's struggling with right now. Create an action plan, make it stick, and I'm going to share some effective exam writing strategies. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about is multitasking. Studying at home or working at home is quite distracting, and there are a lot of things that are happening at, whenever you're trying to concentrate, right? One of the really interesting study that I found about multitasking was that so participants were asked to drive a car, right? It was a simulation, not an actual car, and try to memorize certain words or try to solve math problem, mental math, right? And what the study actually found out was that only 2.5% of the people were able to do both, right? Driving at the same time and doing mental tasks at the same time really easily. So they were called the super taskers. So this really demonstrates the impact, you know, whether it's possible to multitask and do different tasks really well. I'm not a really good multitasker. I have to like focus on one thing at a time, but like essentially most of us are built this way, right? So, you know, I know we see a lot of times on job posting, you know, must be able to multitask, and multitasking is something that I think we think everybody should be able to do, but that's not really the case, especially when you really have to focus on trying to learn something, right? So in terms of cost of multitasking, you could only fully concentrate on one task at a time, right? So if you're trying to multitask, you end up switching between different tasks back and forth, and it ends up draining your brain power, your energy level, and the time to build up your mental capacity between when you're actually switching your task, because you can't fully concentrate once you switch. It takes time to build that up, right? So you could lose up to about 40% in productivity. So let's say if you have to do a chapter reading, and it would have normally maybe taken you about an hour or more to take notes. It could take a lot more, a lot longer to complete the same task, right? So the idea is you want to focus on one task at a time, try to minimize distractions. I'm working at home with my kids coming in and out. Sometimes like they try to bomb my virtual meetings. There's so much distraction, and they're making ton of noise, right, at home. So I try to put on my headphone, play white noise, or some kind of noise to draw, essentially block them out, right? So that I could just concentrate on one task at a time. So pay attention to what's really distracting you, and I'm going to show you some strategies that you could use. So I wanted to try this task, right? So try to follow it along at home with me. So what I want you to do is read the following words and try to remember them, memorize them. Okay, so I'm going to do it with you. Ball, computer, fork, phone, pencil, tree, flower, wallet, coaster, paper, book, bicycle. So can you see if you could type in some of the words that you could remember from the task, or how many words you could remember? And if you could just quickly type it into the chat, that would be great. If you don't remember because it's like Monday morning, that's okay. And you could just say none. Bicycle, great. Oh, you guys are pretty good. All right. And then let's try a second task, right? So as I read the words on the screen, count backwards by 2 from 100, right? So I'm going to get you to, switch task, right? And let's see how this goes. Lawn, 100, jet, 98, hammer, 96, tape, 94, basket, 90, 92, pasta, 90, house, 88, orange, 86, glove, 84, square, 82, bowl, 80, peanut, 78. Okay, so let's see if you followed along. Are you able to remember any of the words? And if you can, try to type them in the chat. And which task was more difficult, first one or the second one? And as you probably see, I kind of had to pause in the middle of the task because, I think I need an extra cup of coffee this morning because, I couldn't go back and forth as easily. So essentially the second task is a lot more difficult, right? Because you're switch tasking, right? You guys are doing pretty good considering it's a Monday morning. So another thing that we have to really pay attention to is mind wandering, right? So I know we started around 10 o'clock. Since 10 o'clock, ask yourself, did your mind wander during this exam jam session, right? And chances are you probably have. And that's normal. That's the way that our brains built. We're built to pay attention around what's going around us around us. And especially in an online learning environment, I find that this is a real challenge for a lot of people. So with the online learning, our minds tend to wander more, right? So when you're trying to learn something, you have to pay attention to that specific information for us to process it so that you could store it in your long-term memory, right? With the mind wandering, what happens is it hinders memory and test performance. And it occurs about 40% in in-person lectures, but with online lectures, your mind tends to wander even more. And if you're especially watching asynchronous pre-recorded lectures, it actually happens quite often, even more so than like synchronous lectures. So that's something that you really want to be careful with. So the idea is you want to reduce the distraction around you. Let's say you have a phone, or try to close the tabs like of other websites. And if you're working in a noisy area, try to maybe remove yourself from that area. If you're fortunate enough to have like your own room, you could study in your room. And try to put especially your phone away, because I know a lot of distractions come from online and phones. And increase your motivation by setting specific goals and building daily routine. That's really important. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, right, stressed, and things build up, your mind tend to wander, right? So in terms of your attention level, motivation, and energy level, you notice that there's a big drop around the 1 hour mark, right? Maybe just slightly before then. So in terms of the time spent, if you look at this graph here, if you're forcing yourself to study in front of your desk, or reading a book or whatever it is for 3 hours, look at how much attention, motivation, and energy level you have remaining. Very little, right? So if you're doing that to yourself, and don't punish yourself like that, um, you're going to end up spending a lot more time trying to cover the same material. So pay attention to how you're feeling, and when you're feeling tired or unmotivated, just take a quick little break, right? So I'm talking about maybe 10-minute break. You don't even have to go for a full hour. Sometimes students go for like maybe 30 to 40 minutes. So, and it also depending on how you're feeling that day, right? So pay attention to how you're feeling, and then take a quick little break so that you could boost your energy and your attention level, and your motivation, right? Another strategy is overcoming procrastination. So one of my all-time favorite book about success and building habits is called Atomic Habits. So essentially what this book talks about is, if you're really relying on your willpower to get you through and be successful in whatever you're working on, you're going to end up running out of willpower, right? So you don't have an unlimited amount. So essentially what you want to do is to create and build good habits, and create specific plans, and that will help you to succeed. So from now till the end of the exam period, what you could try to do is to create a daily task, right? A weekly task, and plug in all the data of the exams, right? And create a list of topics that you want to cover. And I'll go through this and how to do this, and just reviewing your daily task in the morning, and then working on the items. And at the end of the day, just checking to see what you have done, what you haven't done, and just building a routine like that on a daily basis, right? You could, especially when it comes to distraction, every time you're tempted, it drains your energy, right? It causes fatigue. So make sure that you're surrounding, you're getting rid of all the different distractions, so you could really focus on your task, and have obvious cues to start. So if you're creating an action plan, which I will show you, you could have that on your desk, or you even post it on your wall so you could see it and keep track of what you're working on. And you could create implementation intentions like this. So so if you're specific about what you're working on, you're more likely to achieve your goal. So for example, you could create I will, and then insert the behavior and a date and place and time, right? So you could do that for the tasks that you're working on. And by the way, I'm going to be giving you guys a link to download this presentation. So you don't necessarily have to copy anything down or write anything down, unless you want to, create your own notes. Another thing about procrastination is, I think a lot of people tend to, blame themselves, and just, I should have done this. We should have self a lot, right? I should have done this. I should have done that. I'm such a blah, blah, blah. And and you end up feeling down, right? So one of the researchers who study procrastination essentially said, it's not a problem of laziness or time management issue, right? So you shouldn't really be blaming yourself. Procrastination is actually a result of your coping mechanism, right? So we're built in a way that every time something causes stress, right? So especially, when it comes to reading or studying, it's not the most fun activity. And with considering it's online learning, maybe things have built up a little bit. So every time you think about, studying and starting your studies, you might feel a little overwhelmed or stressed. So we're built to avoid stressful situation and negative situations, right? So our coping mechanism is to avoid it. And that's why we procrastinate, right? It's not because there's something wrong with you or if you're because you're lazy or you don't know how to manage your time. So what this researcher says is, when you think of a goal, let's say you have to do like 2 chapters of reading, and you'll say, I'll wait until my book gets better. Tomorrow, I think I'll feel better, so I'll study tomorrow, right? Instead of saying that, what you should do is just get it started, right? So when you have, if you have a plan to do 2 chapters of reading, start your task. Don't even worry about finishing it, right? Just start it, and chances are your mood will get better, right? So, for example, what is the first thing that you need to do to start studying? Let's say you have to do your chapter reading, a chapter for one of your courses. What is literally the first thing that you have to do? And if you could just let me know in the chat, that would be great. So don't think really like elaborately, just something really simple that you have to do. What do you think you have to do to start reading? Okay, so you probably, I think you probably don't want to type. There's such no wrong answer here, but it's literally if you have a physical textbook, you just take it out of your bag, or if you have an online book, then go get your laptop, right? That's literally the first thing. Oftentimes, getting the task started is the biggest hurdle. So when you overcome that hurdle, chances are you'll keep going, right? And and instead of saying, maybe a chapter reading might take about an hour or more, just try for 5 minutes, right? So after 5 minutes, try for another 10 minutes, another 15 minutes. So chances are, if you are able to get over the hurdle and start the task, and you start studying, you'll be able to continue on studying, right? And have obstacle planning statements, so if and then. So by now, you might know what your temptations are, what your distractions are, right? So if I feel like going on social media, I will get up and stretch, right? And every time you feel like going, you want to reach it for your phone, or open up a new tab, or to check out the YouTube video or whatever, instead of doing that, get up and stretch, or get a glass of water, grab some snack, do something else, right? So that you have a specific plan to deal with your temptations and your obstacles. And then now I'm going to share some strategies to get ready for your test. So for example, I'm going to share the four strategies. So when you start getting ready, think about, okay, what will it cover? What is the format? What did the instructor emphasize, right? A lot of this information will be found in the syllabus. If you're not clear, what you could do is you could check with your professor. And the second step is complete an exam study guide, and I will show you how to complete that. And the third step is gathering material, including your syllabus, lecture notes, presentation slides, articles, and textbook notes, and make study notes. So if you're having an online exam, don't rely on your ability to find that information if you're having an open book exam, and be able to make connections in the middle of the exams, and come up with a concise answer, right? Because that's going to take a lot of time. So try to make study notes to study off of that. If you're allowed to have notes as a guide during your exam, you could even use that as well, so that it's easier to find the information. So this is what an exam study guide will look like, right? So the date of the exam, the weight, what sections to study, what to focus on, what the format will be, major themes, and what you need to know. An important step here is estimating the amount of time, right, on the left-hand side. So this will help you to plug this into your schedule, so that you have an overview of all the different exams, how long it will take you to cover everything, right? So that you're not missing out on anything. And then if you're creating an exam guide like this, you could post one for every single exam that you have, and just cross it out as you're moving through the content. and create a specific plan, right? So it might look something like this, right? So this is a 5-day plan, but if you haven't been able to keep up with the reading, I would suggest adding more time, estimating more time to get through the material. So, it includes handouts, creating study guides, studying from the study guides, or taking notes and reading from, studying from the notes, and so on, right? So if you created the exam guide, this will be the next step. And then use the make it stick strategies. So I think a lot of students rely on rereading the textbook or lecture notes or highlighting, right? Believe it or not, those are strategies that are not the most effective. There are other strategies that are actually helps you to remember and perform better on tests. So one really interesting study at Washington University was involved undergraduates. They were asked to study a passage about Galileo, right? And then they were divided into 3 different groups. The first group had 4 different study sessions. Second group had 3 study sessions, followed by a self-testing session. Third group had 1 study and 3 self-testing sessions. And a week later, they were tested, right? So in terms of the students' prediction of their performance, how confident they felt they were going to be performing on the test, and the actual reading comprehension test result, what do you think happened? Which group do you think felt the most confident? First group, 1, 2, or 3? And let me know in the chat which group you think were the most confident. And you could just type in a number. Is everyone feeling a little shy, or am I? Okay. Okay. So in terms of the performance, right, and the confidence, I think this really is surprising for a lot of people, right? So the first group, the group who had the 4 different sessions, were most confident compared to the group with 1 study session and 3 test sessions, right? But the actual results were quite different. So the first group, who were feeling really confident, performed poorly compared to the group who actually self-tested the most often, right? Perform really well. So what self-testing does is it really strengthens your memory, and it helps you to recall the information more easily, and you get a realistic picture of what you know and what you don't know. So if you catch yourself not knowing certain information, you could go back and you have enough time to study. And if you think about it, like when you're writing a test, it's testing your ability to recall the information from your long-term memory, right? And if you practice that over and over again, especially beforehand, and exams are quite stressful, right? And you feel anxious. And what anxiety does to your memory is it actually interferes with your ability to recall the information, right? Little bit of anxiety is okay, because it helps you to get motivated and work on your task and your studying, right? But too much of it could actually interfere with your test performance. So if you're able to try to recall the information beforehand several times, you will overcome that your anxiety and be able to recall that information a lot more easily. Okay, so I would encourage you to do that. So in terms of your studying, instead of cramming, space out your study sessions. This is going to help. This will be really useful in helping you to really consolidate the information, and so that you could remember the information later on during tests. Instead of mass practicing one content, interleave different content. So what this talks about is like switching up different kind of task in one study session, right? So you could study topic A, B, and C instead of studying all topic A in 1 hour. So once you do that, you're actually improving your ability to recognize what theory to apply, what kind of formula to apply to solve a particular question. And that's what you will be needing during your test, right? Because chances are your professors are going to be mixing up the different kind of questions and where like students have to use different kind of strategies and theories and recognize what kind of theories and formulas and strategies you need to solve the question, right? Instead of memorizing, elaborate putting things in your own words and thinking of different examples from your real life or something that you already know, right? Instead of skimming through the content, generate, so writing your own notes, if you write things in your words or even type it up, you're more likely to remember that rather than the way it's written in a textbook, right? In another person's words. And then instead of studying only in a relaxed environment, try to mimic the test conditions. So set up, you could even try like maybe one of the old exams on the library website or come up with your own questions or chapter questions and set a time limit, right, for yourself so that you're able to, feel that little bit of maybe nervousness or anxiety, which will help to mimic the test condition, right? And that's going to help you to improve your test performance. So in terms of writing tests, here's some tips. So, if you know the exam specification, set a specific amount of time for each of the sections. And for take-home exams, leave extra time for review, right? So instead of like, trying to submit it like 5 minutes before and just quickly review, just try to work on it ahead of time, just in case, you never know, you could have also tech issues too. And pay careful attention to the exam instructions because I know each of the instructors are using different instruction about, for example, showing your desk and your face on camera as you're writing your test and whatnot. So, carefully review and then go through the exam instruction as you're writing your exams. And in terms of academic integrity, I know a lot of issues have come up. So here's a website for academic integrity. And make sure you check with your professor what's allowed and what's not allowed, right? There's some really great examples on pearls and pitfalls and smart strategies on that website. So please review that and do not connect with other peers from your courses during the exam because you could get flagged for academic integrity issue. So here's another website. If you go to uftme.adjustingonline, you could go through some of the strategies like online exam writing tips and studying tips. There's a contact information for IITS help desk. So if you're having tech issues, you could contact them right away. They're open quite late. They have a phone number and email. And if you're not able to submit it because of tech issue, you could contact IITS and email your instructor right away with the answers. However, if you have any trouble or your professor is not accepting your answers, you can also file a petition, right? So there are links that are available on this website that you could check out. And of course, there's a mock exam link and a Quarkus tutorial on quizzes, submitting quizzes and assignments. Oops, sorry, one second. So we do, at ANCC, we do also support students with study skills. So we have studies together sessions where students get together to study in an online virtual environment, which could be helpful in staying motivated. We also do one-on-one peer coaching, and starting in January, we're going to start offer some of these workshops again. So taking notes, reading, time management, overcoming obstacles and staying motivated. So please do check that out. So if you go to this link, you'll be able to find the instruction. Okay, so I'm going to share. Okay, so if you go to this website here, bit.ly, hold on one sec. I'm gonna paste this, copy and paste this link in the chat. Okay, so if you go to that website, you'll be able to review the slides. Let me know if you have any issues. Can you guys try to open that up and let me know if you could download it. And then if you have any issue, I'll stick around for a few minutes. I'll try to change the settings so that you could take a look at the presentation. Okay, so do you guys have any questions about writing or preparing? Okay, it looks like it's working. Preparing tests. Okay, I don't think there's any question. Yeah, so feel free to reach out to us. So here's our website. Oops, I forgot the AACC part. So that's our website. We do have drop-in hours and appointments available if you have any issues with preparing for tests or any kind of academic course or program planning, decision-making related things. So thank you so much and good luck on your exams.